If you've ever seen a cottage that was priced way below market value, there's a chance that it was on leased land. In today's video, I'm going to break down the pros and cons of leased land and how it actually works in my market. But before we get into that, I want to say that I appreciate you watching this video. If you learned something new today, all I ask is that you click the like and subscribe button down below. And if you're interested in booking a call with me, you can click the first link in the description. All right, let's hop into it. So simply put, a land lease is when you own the building, but you lease the land that building sits on from the landowner. This is pretty common in indigenous areas such as Curve Lake or Hiawatha. It's also common in waterfront resort areas like the Park Bridge resorts or any other public or private waterfront communities. So unlike a freehold property where you own the land and everything that's on it, with a land lease, you're essentially purchasing the structure and a right to use the land. That right to use the land comes in the form of a lease. Typically, you will pay that landowner either monthly or annually for the right to use their land. And just like a residential lease, the land lease will have a duration, normally up to 99 years, and it will also have set terms regarding services and the renewal of that lease. And similar to a residential lease, at the end of that land lease contract, the land will go back to the landowner unless there is a renewal or an extension of that land lease. In terms of pros and cons, the biggest pro is probably the affordability that leased land offers. Because you're just purchasing the structure and you don't purchase the land that that structure sits on, typically the value of that land is subtracted from the list price. Because of this, you can get waterfront properties for $300,000 to $500,000 lower than if you were to purchase that property and the land was included in the purchase price. Another pro might be lower property taxes or getting access to amenities. Sometimes these properties are found in waterfront resorts where you might have access to a waterfront park or potentially other amenities like a tennis court or a play structure. However, there are also some cons. Land lease properties can be difficult to finance because the land is not owned. So it can be difficult to find a lender who will provide a mortgage on a land lease property. Now, when you do find a lender, they may require a higher down payment or they may have unfavorable terms compared to a property where the buyer is also purchasing the land. Another con is that you may not get as much appreciation as you would with a typical property where you own the land. This is partly because the land makes up some of the value of that real estate and also because the buyer pool is smaller for land leased properties because it's a little bit more difficult to finance them. So who should buy a leased land property? Well, in my opinion, it could work for a retiree or a buyer that values lifestyle over appreciation. It can be a fantastic way to live on the water without that waterfront sticker shock that comes with a waterfront property where the land is owned. It can also make a great cottage, or it's great for a cash buyer who is looking for that waterfront lifestyle. In conclusion, leased land isn't necessarily good or bad. It's specific. The key is to understand the terms of the lease, the costs involved, and your long-term goals or plan with real estate before you buy. Now, with all purchases, I recommend a financing condition, but especially with leased land. I also recommend a solicitor's review condition to allow your lawyer to look over that lease to determine if you're comfortable with the terms before you go ahead with that purchase. Well, that's all from me. I hope you liked this video and I hope you learned something new about leased land properties. And if you did like this video, you might like the video I made on whether or not it's better to sell your home exclusively or on the MLS. Click here to check it out. Talk soon.